In the quiet hours, just before dawn, a faint silver glow spread across the sky above the mist-shrouded mountains of the Middle Kingdom. Deep within an ancient bamboo forest, a lone warrior named Wei Feng walked along a narrow dirt path that wound its way beneath tall emerald stalks. The night air was cool on his face, carrying the faint sounds of rustling leaves and distant streams. He felt anxious with each step. Something about the night was heavy, loaded with hushed whispers of unseen spirits. Yet he pressed on, keenly aware that his journey had a purpose that even he did not fully comprehend. He had come searching for a rumored spirit said to reside in these woods, a spirit of the Jade rabbit, silent companion to the fabled moon goddess. Legends claimed it offered guidance to those with a worthy heart, though few had ever found it. Wei Feng's armor had long since lost its original luster, the steel plates marked by past battles. Beneath his well-worn pauldron, close to his heart, was a small talisman, shaped like a crescent moon. It was a gift from his mother, bestowed with her dying wish that he protect the weak and honor his ancestors' name. Each scar on his armor, each dent on his sword, told a story of harrowing encounters and moral choices. Though weighed down by fatigue, he maintained steady resolve. He had traveled across scorching deserts and high mountain passes, never longer than a few days in one place. He had grown accustomed to seeing the worst that men and spirits could do, and he was prepared to bear that burden if it meant keeping a vow larger than himself. Lately, his purpose had become entangled with rumors of malevolent illusions plaguing cities, villages, and remote strongholds. Hunters returned from the woods reporting unreal visions that caused them to turn on one another. Elders whispered of a demon queen who could twist reality at her will, enthralling entire villages with illusions so potent that people gave up their souls without clamoring for help. The rumors led Wei Feng here, guided by a tug in his heart that told him the Jade Rabbit was the key to uncovering the truth behind these illusions. The presence of illusions unsettled his warrior's discipline. A sword could cut through flesh, but illusions were intangible. How does one fight what isn't really there? At first, the forest offered no sign of any sentient spirit. Wei Feng passed small shrines, each with offerings of fruit or paper charms left by devout travelers. One contained the image of a rabbit, carved in jade, no larger than a peach, placed upon a smooth stone. He paused, lighting a small stick of incense out of respect. The smoky tendrils coiled upward, and he shut his eyes to recite a short prayer. When he opened them, the carving was gone. Alarmed, he looked around, seeing only the ghostly silhouettes of bamboo. Had someone or something picked it up while his eyes were closed? Curiosity and unease pushed Wei Feng to search the surrounding area. The forest floor was carpeted in fallen leaves that muffled his footsteps. Cool air blew against his cheeks, carrying a faint hint of old incense. He walked another dozen paces before he noticed a glowing figure slipping between the bamboo stalks. It moved with remarkable speed, leaving behind a trail of shimmering motes that quickly dissolved into darkness. With a deep breath, Wei Feng followed, careful not to make a sound, but keen to see whatever that spirit might be. He stepped through a break in the bamboo and found himself in a small clearing dotted with moonlit stones. In the center of the clearing stood a translucent rabbit, twice the size of a normal hare, with fur the color of purest jade. Its ears twitched as if catching the faintest sounds of Wei Feng's breath. Despite its spectral form, its eyes glinted with a sentience that belied centuries of wisdom. It turned to face him, unafraid, as if it had known him all along. Wei Feng carefully removed his helmet and bowed to the spirit in greeting. "Honored one," he said in a hushed voice, "I come seeking your guidance. Darkness has spread across the realm in the form of illusions that torment people's minds. Legend says you can help me see what is hidden." The Jade Rabbit's ears dipped slightly, and its nose twitched. In a soundless gesture, it beckoned for Wei Feng to follow. He did so without hesitation, feeling an aura of serene strength emanating from this spirit. The rabbit led him deeper into the bamboo grove, where the canopy overhead merged, shutting out the last vestiges of moonlight. Before Wei Feng's eyes could fully adjust to the gloom, the rabbit paused near the base of an old, gnarled tree. The trunk had a hollow opening wide enough for a person to crawl inside. The rabbit vanished into the darkness of that hollow, leaving the warrior uncertain if he could fit, or if he even should attempt to enter. Summoning courage and curiosity, he knelt down, slipped inside, and found himself sliding through a narrow tunnel that felt impossibly long. The earthy scent of soil and old roots surrounded him. Soon, the tunnel opened into a cavern lit by a soft, glowing fungus. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like dragon's teeth, and in the center of the chamber lay a shallow pool of luminescent water. The jade rabbit reappeared on the opposite side, calmly watching him. Wei Feng rose to his feet with caution. Never had he seen a place so hidden from mortal eyes. As he approached the pool, the rabbit circled it, tracing an unspoken pattern. Then it dipped its paw into the water. Light rippled across the cavern, forming visions in the air above. Wei Feng beheld ghostly images of villages torn by conflict, men and women cowering in terror before a regal woman dressed in obsidian robes. Her lips moved soundlessly, weaving illusions that distort reality like living nightmares. Surrounding her were grotesque, masked figures, minions bound to her will. Wei Feng felt a surge of anger and pity. Seeing innocent people enthralled by illusions made him clench his fists, memories of past tragedies flickering at the edge of his mind. The jade rabbit locked eyes with Wei Feng, and in that silent moment, it conveyed an understanding of what he must do. Wei Feng bowed his head. "I will fight," he whispered. "Show me how to see beyond her illusions." In response, the spirit hopped across the water and pressed its forehead against Wei Feng's own. Tingling sensation spread across the warrior's scalp, as if a cool breeze had swept through his thoughts. He felt a weight lift, like a veil drawn back from his inner sight. When the rabbit stepped away, Wei Feng could see its light shining more vibrantly. Somehow, the world around him felt sharper. Every shadow, every shift of color was more vivid. With that newfound clarity, he left the cavern the same way he entered, holding the jade rabbit's guiding presence close to his heart. He emerged from the old hollow into the bamboo forest, which now glowed in the gentle morning light. Though physically alone, he sensed the rabbit's spirit would remain with him. He whispered his thanks aloud, then set forth with renewed determination. The Demon Queen's illusions had to be confronted. To do that, Wei Feng would travel to the larger city nearest these woods, Bright River City, where the illusions were said to have turned the governor's hall into a haunting labyrinth. Arriving at the city gates, he was greeted by an unsettling hush. Shopkeepers stood behind their stalls without calling out. Soldiers on patrol walked stiffly, their eyes distant as if they were searching for something they had already lost. Muttered voices abounded, speaking of nightmares that continued even in broad daylight. Wei Feng approached a marketplace stall where a grim-faced woman sold herbs. Instead of lively bargaining, she looked at him with vacant eyes. "Are you real?" she asked, voice trembling. "Yes," Wei Feng replied gently, placing a reassuring hand on her stall. "I've come to help." Yet she turned away, as if unconvinced, muttering about illusions that whispered lies into her ear at twilight. A child ran up to him, tugging at his tattered cloak. "Mother said the Queen of Illusions lives within the governor's manor," the child said, "but I saw her on the rooftops at night, dancing with ghosts." Wei Feng knelt down and tried to comfort the child, but the little one merely backed away, frightened that he too might vanish like a hallucination. Wei Feng watched them go, feeling more determined than ever. Whatever illusions had befallen Bright River City, they ran deep. His vow to protect the helpless weighed on him heavily. He made his way to the governor's manor, once a grand edifice with carved pillars and a broad courtyard. Now the steps were cracked and the doors hung precariously on their hinges. No guards came out to bar his path. He ventured inside, the corridor echoing with each step of his boots against the polished stone floor. Weaving illusions meant the Demon Queen could make the unreal real. He could not trust his eyes or ears, yet he felt a faint warmth around his neck, the subtle presence of the Jade Rabbit's blessing stirring within. His vision seemed to cut through shadows, revealing tiny distortions dancing in the corners. A figure appeared at the end of the hall. It wore shining armor and bore the face of Wei Feng himself. The double glared at him with furious intensity. It drew a sword identical to his own, leveling it at his chest. For a moment, Wei Feng faltered, unsure if he fought a reflection of his darkest fears. But he remembered the gift of second sight the Jade Rabbit had bestowed. He took a measured breath and allowed the illusions to settle in his perception. As he focused, the figure's features wavered, turning into a watery distortion, a formless ghost wearing the mask of a man. Wei Feng slashed once with his blade of tempered steel, and the double vanished into threads of smoke-like essence. He proceeded deeper until he came to a large audience chamber. Lanterns flickered along the walls, dyed in ominous shades of red and black. At the far end, on a tall dais, sat a woman garbed in sumptuous robes of obsidian silk. Her face was painted with intricate designs, hints of gold, and dark red swirling around her eyes, which blazed with unnatural light. Her long raven black hair flowed around her like a cascading waterfall of midnight. Though she seemed elegant and composed, a palpable aura of malevolence emanated from her every glance. She was the Demon Queen of Illusions. "Brave warrior," she purred, her voice echoing unnaturally in the chamber. "You bear a faint glimmer of magic about you, and you have come so far just to meet me." She lifted a hand, fingers adorned with sharp jade-colored claws. "Let us discover your greatest nightmares." The air shimmered, and at once the chamber was replaced by a battlefield. Wei Feng found himself in the midst of screaming soldiers, battered wreckage, and the stench of blood. He recognized it, an old memory of a war that had claimed many lives. He felt the cold rush of grief at seeing fallen comrades and hearing the cries of the dying. A spear whizzed past him, nearly grazing his torso. For a moment the horror weighed so heavily that he nearly dropped to his knees, but from deep within a warm glow spread throughout his body. The Jade Rabbit's guidance reminded him, illusions could not harm him unless he believed they were real. He shut his eyes, focusing on that glow, then opened them. The scene of war flickered and vanished. He found himself back in the audience chamber, the Demon Queen sneering from her throne. She saw she had failed to trap him in that vision. "You are not so easily fooled," she said, a hint of annoyance in her voice. "But you do not know my true power." She raised her hands, and the illusions shifted again, conjuring a labyrinth of dark mirrors around him. Each mirror reflected a distorted version of Wei Feng, sometimes monstrous, sometimes shattered. The reflections spoke in unison, their voices layered and harsh. "You aren't worthy. You are just a vagabond with a code of honor too heavy for any mortal to bear." The mirrors closed in on him, threatening to suffocate him with 1,000 mocking images. Wei Feng's heart pounded, but each beat reminded him of the vow he had made. He refused to surrender to illusions. "I am not alone," he shouted. "There is a spirit that supports me." With all his might, he thrust his sword into the floor. A release of energy rippled from the point of impact. For an instant, the reflection in one of the mirrors changed, and he saw the Jade Rabbit looking back at him, its luminous fur defying the darkness. The labyrinth shattered under that light, each mirror fracturing into shards that dissolved into the air. The Demon Queen stood, her graceful bearing replaced by seething rage. "You carry the stench of the celestial rabbit," she hissed. "Your mortal eyes have been opened by an ancient power. But illusions are more than sights. They are the lies we tell ourselves. She raised both arms, and from the corners of the hall, shadowy creatures emerged. They appeared as menacing silhouettes with hollow eyes, each brandishing a spear or sword. Their footsteps made no sound, yet they radiated a lethal intent. Wei Feng steeled himself, raising his blade. Though illusions had no substance, these apparitions moved with unnerving speed, and the shock of cold steel felt real as one of them lashed out. He parried swiftly, recalling the Jade Rabbit's gift was not just for seeing past illusions, but for understanding how illusions drew on a victim's own fears and disbelief. Each time a phantom struck, Wei Feng reminded himself that their power lay in the mind. Even so, a misstep could prove fatal if he believed the phantom's blow was real. His arms ached from the repeated collisions with intangible blades, each encounter draining more of his focus. Slowly, he advanced, hacking through the swirling darkness. Each vanquished phantom evaporated in a hiss of black smoke. When the last one vanished, the Demon Queen's frustration was palpable. "You meddle in forces beyond your comprehension," she declared. "I have cultivated illusions from the nightmares of thousands, feeding on their darkest secrets. Mortals have always yearned for illusions to escape from hard truths. What are you compared to that? Will you force them to see what they fear to see?" Her tone was mocking, yet laced with a certain truth that pricked Wei Feng's conscience. Indeed, illusions could sometimes be a refuge for the broken-hearted, a comfort for the grieving. If he banished them outright, was he taking away people's solace? He steadied himself, though the weight of her words pressed down on him. "Illusions that help people avoid despair may be kind, but you are tormenting souls for your own power. That I cannot allow." With a deep breath, he channeled the Jade Rabbit's presence, feeling a surge of spiritual strength that banished doubt. Tendrils of silver light swirled around his sword and armor, forming a faint aura. The Demon Queen eyed him warily, her expressions of mockery fading. She extended her hand and sent one final wave of illusions coursing through the air. This time not a battlefield or a labyrinth, but a series of fleeting moments from Wei Feng's past. He saw his mother handing him the crescent moon talisman, tears in her eyes. He saw the father he had lost in a distant campaign, a man who had never returned from the war. He saw the faces of friends, some dead, some estranged. Tiny joys he had left behind, regrets that had haunted him, all manifested in swirling glimpses around him. His heart clenched, and tears blurred his vision. The illusions struck at his deepest vulnerabilities. His grip on the sword weakened for an instant. If he wavered now, everything he had fought for would be in vain. From within that swirl of painful memories, a single figure stepped forward. It was himself, but not an illusion. The Jade Rabbit's voice whispered in his thoughts, reminding him that confronting the truth of his past was the most potent way to dispel illusions. "Honor your memories," said the voice echoing in his mind. "They are not illusions, but reflections of who you are. Accept them, and they will give you strength." Wei Feng exhaled, letting the sorrow crash over him like a wave. He reached out, willing his mind to embrace the memories rather than deny them. In that instant, the illusions lost their power. They dissolved one by one, leaving only a bright, comforting glow around him. The Demon Queen's cornered expression revealed that she sensed his inner triumph. He raised his sword high, the blade now shimmering with moonlit radiance. "Return to the shadows," he commanded. "Your illusions have no place among the living when they're twisted by malice." The Demon Queen snarled, summoning dark crackles of energy around her. But Wei Feng unleashed a slash of radiant power that cut through her illusions. A blinding light filled the hall, and with a final shriek, the Demon Queen evaporated in a swirl of black mist. The illusions that plagued the governor's manor faded, revealing an ornate chamber riddled with cracked pillars and fallen debris. Wei Feng stood in the midst of it all, breathing heavily. He felt a momentary pang wondering if the Demon Queen had truly been destroyed or if she had simply vanished to some distant domain. But for now, her hold on this place had ended. In the days that followed, Bright River City gradually returned to life. The afflicted townspeople, freed from constant mental invasion, emerged from their fearful stupor. The child who had run from Wei Feng earlier greeted him shyly when they crossed paths in the market. The old herbalist gave him a small pouch of medicinal herbs in thanks for lifting the shadows, though she admitted she still feared illusions might lurk in her dreams. Soldiers repaired the city's gates and walls, hoping a strengthened defense could keep out future misfortunes. Despite the city's return to normalcy, Wei Feng did not linger. He had spent so long wandering that settling down in one place felt like an impossible notion. Yet he left with a lighter heart, knowing that just as illusions could bring suffering, so could genuine hope bring healing. On his last morning in Bright River, he stood at the city gates, gazing up at a sky dappled with dawn's gold and lavender hues. For a moment, between the drifting clouds, he glimpsed a faint figure shaped like a rabbit at the edge of the moon. It might well have been his imagination, but perhaps the Jade Rabbit lingered above, ensuring that illusions would no longer plague this small corner of the land. He resumed traveling, the clink of armor echoing in the mountain breeze. The path stretched on before him, leading to lands and perils unknown. Yet the Jade Rabbit's guidance remained in his heart. He knew there would be other evils, other illusions cast by malevolent spirits or by the fears of mortal hearts. But now he understood that illusions lose their claws when one faces them with courage, honoring the memories of the past, yet refusing to relinquish hope for the future. Some say Wei Feng continued to wander for many years, occasionally guarded by a spectral rabbit that only the most perceptive could see. Whenever he appeared in a troubled village, it was usually on the eve of a calamity or during the peak of an inexplicable haunting. With calm resolve, he would drive out false visions, remind people of the truths they clung to, and restore their faith in tomorrow. But just as quietly as he arrived, he would depart under the light of the moon, drifting into the realm of legends. Others believe that once his work was done, he returned to that hidden cavern to leave an offering in gratitude to the Jade Rabbit spirit. On rare nights, travelers have claimed they heard faint whispers in the bamboo forest, whispers of a man telling tales of illusions vanquished and hearts renewed, and the gentle thump of a rabbit's feet on soft earth. Whether such sightings are real or figments of hopeful imaginations, no one can say with certainty. Yet the story endures. People in distant lands still speak of a demon queen of illusions, weaving nightmares and feeding off mortal despair, only to be driven back by a warrior guided by a gentle, glowing hair. Its jade fur was said to shine brightly enough to illuminate the truth buried beneath any deception, bringing renewed strength to a world often burdened by its own illusions. The Jade Rabbit and Wei Feng showed that vision and courage go hand in hand. In the end, illusions persist as part of the human experience, shaped by our fears and desires. But they are not insurmountable. Sometimes a single guiding light can scatter the shadows of deception, and for those who seek that light, a wandering warrior and a jade spirit stand ready, forever reminding mortals that, even in the depths of darkness, the truth can still break through like the first rays of dawn. Their tale remains a shining testament to faith, perseverance, and the simple but profound compassion that underscores every legend of the Middle Kingdom.